Hi. I'm Jack R. Matthews, retired Marine Colonel. 3 tours, 2 continents, and more scars than I care to count. But back home? They didn't salute me. They stared, crossed the street. One lady at the diner asked if I was dangerous, just because of my face. For years, I was the ghost of Mill Creek. Until the day the sky opened up, and they all needed saving. You ever wonder what happens when the nobody turns out to be the only one left standing? Ellipsis. I didn't come back home for a damn parade. Truth is, I came back because there was nowhere else to go. My boys were gone, the war was over, and the world I once knew, it had moved on without me. So I found a spot, out past the edge of Mill Creek, Alabama, old hunting cabin, rotten roof, tilted porch. No one wanted it. It wanted me. Town's small, 1 stoplight, 2 churches, and a gas station called Danny's, though no one remembers who Danny was. That's where I go every Tuesday. For cigarettes, black coffee, and a reason to move my legs. I walk 2 miles in. Quiet road, no sidewalks, just gravel and memory. The girl at the register, she used to smile. Now she barely lifts her eyes. She scans my smokes, counts the change, and slides it back without a word. People don't speak to me. They don't need to. I've heard the whispers. Nutjob, ghost, loony vet. One time, some kid pointed at me and said, "Mama, why does that man look like he got burned?" She didn't correct him, just pulled him away. I don't blame him. I wear the same old Marine jacket. Scars on my cheek, limp in my left leg, eyes that have seen too much and stayed open through all of it. They don't see a man. They see a shadow. A leftover. Last year, the town held a parade. Veterans Day. Big banner across Main Street. Mill Creek honors our heroes. I wasn't on the list. Didn't expect to be. But I still stood there, back by the tree line. Watched the mayor give a speech he didn't write. Watched kids wave flags they didn't understand. One teenager spotted me. He laughed, called me Captain Hook, under his breath. Real clever. Back home, I sat at the kitchen table. Drawer to my right, inside. A letter I wrote 6 months ago. Application to the local VFW. Never mailed it, never would. I burned it that night. 1 match. Paper curled like an old promise. I poured a drink, stood in front of the wall. Photos. My unit. Men in sand-covered boots. Some smiling, some not. Most are gone now. I see their faces more than my own. They forgot you, I told them. Hell, they forgot me too. No one answered. They never do. October here is strange. Hot days, cold nights, and thunder that sounds like war. I lay on my back that night, hands folded on my chest, like a man buried above ground. Eyes open, staring into dark. Waiting. Not for sleep. Sleep is dangerous. Sleep brings dreams. No, I was waiting for silence. True silence. The kind that comes before something ends. The next morning, I walked into town again. Routine. Smokes. Coffee. Another quiet Tuesday. But something felt different. A boy on a bike almost ran into me. I caught the handlebars before he fell. He looked up, eyes wide. "You okay, kid?" He nodded, didn't say thank you, just rode off. His mom came seconds later. She didn't ask if he was fine. Didn't thank me. She stared, like I was holding a weapon. "Don't touch my son," she snapped. I opened my mouth to explain. But she was already gone. I just stood there, hand still outstretched, like a damn fool. That night I didn't drink. Didn't sit by the wall. Didn't light the lantern. I sat on the porch. Listened to the crickets. Watched the trees sway under a pale moon. And I whispered something to no one. If they ever need me again, I'll still be here. Even if they don't look my way. Even if they never say my name. Because I remember who I was. And I remember who I still am. And that has to be enough. Ellipsis. It rained that Thursday. Not a storm, just a slow, steady drizzle that made the streets slick and the town even quieter than usual. I didn't go into town that day. Didn't feel like it. Some days the silence inside my head was enough. Didn't need the town adding to it. I spent the morning cleaning my rifle. Not because I needed to. Just habit. Hands need something to do, or they start shaking. By noon, I was sitting at the kitchen table with the old radio on. Same static, same weather updates, nothing urgent. Then I heard the mail truck. Always late, always noisy, tires splashing over potholes like clockwork. I didn't expect anything. No one writes to me. No one calls. But I stepped out anyway. Stood under the rusted tin awning while the rain tapped above me. Pulled the mailbox open. Bills, flyers, one letter in a government envelope. Thick paper, stamped with the Department of Veterans Affairs. My heart didn't race, but my hand tightened. Back inside, I sat down, laid the envelope flat on the table, stared at it like it might explode. I didn't open it right away. I made coffee. Fed the stray cat that wandered onto my porch 2 weeks ago. Checked the locks on the doors, even though it was daylight. Then I came back, ripped it open with a pocket knife. It wasn't what I expected. No benefits, no back pay, no recognition. Just a form, asking if I'd be interested in counseling. Some pilot program for vets. Coping with reintegration challenges. That's what they called it now. Reintegration. Like we were puzzle pieces forced back into boxes that no longer had our shapes. I tossed it on the counter. Felt a dull ache creep up my spine. Not from the war, from living. I sat outside again. Same porch, same view, trees, mud, fence. Then I saw her. Little girl from up the hill. She couldn't be older than 7. Pink raincoat, yellow boots. Tiptoeing toward the ditch across from my yard. She was chasing something, a frog maybe, or a paper boat, didn't matter. She slipped right into the muddy water, sank up to her knees. Cried out, not loud, but loud enough. I was moving before I thought. Boots slamming the porch steps, rain soaking my shirt. She was stuck, mud held her like glue. I waded in. Grabbed her under the arms. Lifted her like I'd done with 100 wounded men. She wrapped her arms around my neck. Didn't scream. Didn't cry. Just held on. I carried her up the hill. To her house. Knocked on the door. Her mother opened it. Stared. Eyes wide. Mouth open. Then pulled the girl from my arms without a word. Didn't say thank you. Didn't look at me again. Just closed the door. I stood there in the rain. Mud on my jeans. Water dripping from my sleeves. Not angry. Not surprised. Just tired. Back at my porch, the stray cat was waiting. I sat, lit a cigarette, watched the smoke curl up into the gray sky. Somewhere, the radio crackled back to life. Forecast said clear skies tomorrow. Didn't matter. I wasn't waiting on the weather. I was waiting on a letter that would never come. One that said, we see you. One that said, you still matter. But I knew better. I was a ghost in Mill Creek. And ghosts don't get mail. Ellipsis. Saturday mornings are the loudest in Mill Creek. Chainsaws, leaf blowers, dogs barking like they've got something to prove. But that Saturday was different. Quieter, still. I was sitting on the porch. Black coffee in one hand. Cigarette in the other. The cat hadn't come by. Neither had the mail. Just wind, and the sound of someone kicking gravel. I looked up, saw a boy walking alone down the road. Red hoodie, hands in his pockets, dragging one foot slightly like he wasn't sure he belonged in his own body. Couldn't have been more than 16. Skinny, pale, hair like it hadn't been washed in days. He passed by my fence. Didn't look up, didn't say a word. But I saw it. A bruise on his jaw. Purple, fresh. And something else. Something in his eyes. That hollow kind of stare you only get when the world's been kicking you too damn long. I knew that look. I wore it once. Still do. Some days. I didn't call out. Didn't wave. Just nodded. He didn't nod back. But the next Saturday, he walked by again. Same hoodie. Same bruise. Just older. And this time, he looked at me. Just for a second. Then kept walking. 3 weeks passed. Same boy. Same path. One day I was splitting wood. He stopped at the edge of my fence. Didn't speak. Just stood there, watching. I wiped the sweat from my face. Offered him a bottle of water. He hesitated, then took it. Still didn't say anything, but he drank it all. Set the bottle down on my step, and walked off. Didn't look back. The next time he came by, he had a cut above his eye. Worse than before. I didn't ask, didn't pry. But I reached inside the cabin, grabbed my old medic kit, and handed him a gauze pad and some ointment. Press it there, I said. Stop the bleeding. He did, hands shaking, but he did. Then he sat on the steps, next to me. Still no words, just silence. But it wasn't the empty kind. It was the kind that says, I know you see me, and maybe that's enough. Eventually, I learned his name was Tyler. No dad, mom worked nights, stepfather liked the bottle more than the boy. He didn't give details, didn't need to. His eyes said plenty. I taught him how to chop wood, how to start a fire without a match, how to listen for things the world drowns out. Bird calls, shifting wind, the difference between quiet and danger. One afternoon, he asked me, were you ever scared? I paused, looked at my hands, then said, every damn day. He didn't smile, didn't nod. But I saw something shift in his shoulders, like a weight had moved. Just a little. And that was enough. That night, I sat on the porch again. Same chair, same view. But for the first time in a long while, I wasn't waiting for a letter. I was waiting to see a red hoodie. And maybe, just maybe, someone finally saw the ghost and decided not to be afraid. Ellipsis. The mornings started earlier now. Colder too. Air had that bite to it. The kind that stung your lungs when you breathed too deep. October was shifting toward November, and Mill Creek was starting to decorate for the holidays. Fake pumpkins on porches, paper ghosts taped to diner windows, church signs blinking out verses about thankfulness. Me? I still sat on the porch. Coffee, cat, silence. And the radio. It was an old piece of gear. Military issue. The kind that hummed before it spoke. The kind that only picked up what wasn't meant for civilians. I kept it tuned, not for anything in particular. Just habit. Then, one Thursday morning, it spoke. Not words, not yet. Just static, sharp, unnatural. I leaned in, tuned the dial. A man's voice broke through, rough around the edges. This is Region 7 Command, reporting atmospheric instability over Sector DELTA-4. Repeat, instability moving east with rotational markers detected. My hand froze. DELTA-4. That covered this part of Alabama. Mill Creek was dead center. Rotational markers. That meant tornado. I turned up the volume. The message repeated, no public alert yet, no sirens. Nothing on the TV. Nothing on the phone. Just the hum of danger, crackling through decades-old wires. I stood, walked to the shed, pulled out my old go bag, still packed from the last time I thought I'd need it. Maybe Afghanistan, maybe somewhere else. I checked the flashlight, the flares, my field radio. Still worked. Inside, I pulled down the weather map I kept above the fridge. Used to track storms like this when I worked logistics. Still remembered how. According to the pressure systems, the storm was coming fast. Real fast. Too fast for Mill Creek. I picked up the landline. Called the town office. Busy. Tried again. Rang. No answer. Tried the sheriff's number. Got voicemail. This is important, I said. There's a cell forming. You need to activate the sirens. Get people underground. I hung up. Didn't wait. I wasn't in command anymore. But damn it, someone had to act like they were. I went outside. Sky was darkening fast. That wrong kind of gray. The kind that presses down on your chest. Leaves weren't just falling, they were spinning. Air was too still, too quiet. Even the birds knew. I walked down the road, past house after house. No one outside. Kids playing video games. Parents watching the news. News that still hadn't said a damn thing. I reached the school, old brick building with a rusty flagpole out front. Saw teachers loading kids into buses. Slow, unprepared. I stepped up to the assistant principal. Told her what I heard. What I knew. She blinked. Didn't believe me. Sir, we haven't heard anything official. She said. Neither did Fallujah, I told her, and I still lost half my squad. That got her attention. By the time the first siren wailed, it was already too late. Clouds touched down, a twisting finger of black tearing across the horizon. Screams, panic, the sound of shattering glass. And in that moment, I wasn't Jack Matthews, ghost of Mill Creek. I was Colonel Matthews again. And I ran straight into the storm. Ellipsis. The sky split open. That's the only way I can describe it. Like God himself tore a hole in the clouds and let chaos fall through. The tornado wasn't on the news yet, but it was in the sky, and now, it was in the town. I saw rooftops lift like tin plates, trees bent sideways, screaming, power lines snapped like twine. Screams echoed between the buildings, and I didn't have time to think. The school was chaos, teachers shouting, kids crying, some frozen, some running in the wrong direction. One bus had already pulled out. Another was stuck, half its wheels in a ditch. I ran inside. The old front doors had blown wide open. Glass everywhere, papers flying. Everyone to the basement. I didn't shout, I commanded. Something about the tone stopped them, even the teachers. I started directing movement, single file, no screaming, cover your heads, take the younger ones first. The assistant principal found me, tears on her cheeks. We're missing two, she said, a girl from 3rd grade, and one of the janitors. They might be in the East Wing. East Wing, no shelter, windows lining both walls. I didn't hesitate. I ran. Wind howled through the halls. Ceiling tiles dropped one by one. A locker door flew past me like a blade. I reached the last classroom. Door stuck. I braced and slammed into it. Once, twice, third time, it gave way. The little girl was under a desk, crying, frozen. The janitor, Carl, I think, was unconscious by the back wall, blood on his temple. Come on, I said, to both of them. The girl didn't move, so I crawled under, wrapped my arms around her. You're gonna be okay, I told her, but we gotta go now. I scooped her up, then turned to Carl. He was heavy, but I'd carried heavier. One arm under his shoulder, girl in the other. We moved, one hallway at a time. Tiles fell, dust choked the air. I didn't stop, didn't slow down. Because if I did, I knew we wouldn't make it. Basement door in sight. I saw a teacher wave me down. She opened it. I passed the girl to her first. Then eased Carl down the steps. Last, I shut the door behind me. Not a second later, we heard the roar. Like a freight train made of knives. Everything shook, screams below, children praying, someone vomiting in the corner. And then, silence. When I opened the door again, the school was gone. Not damaged, gone. Walls torn off, roof missing. But everyone we brought below was alive. Bruised, bloody, shaken. Alive. I stepped outside, felt the wind die down, felt my knees start to shake. Then I sat on the ground, blood on my hands, dust in my mouth. I looked up at the sky. then down at my boots. Still standing. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like a ghost. I felt like a soldier. Again. Ellipsis. It didn't rain after the storm. Didn't thunder. Didn't blow. Didn't cry. It just went quiet. The kind of quiet that makes your ears ring. I sat on the curb outside what used to be Mill Creek Elementary. The building was half a skeleton. A broken rib cage of bricks and twisted metal. Sirens had started. Ambulances. Fire trucks. News vans. All late. But not useless. They were pulling people from rubble up the road, putting out fires sparked by snapped lines, handing out water bottles and whispering prayers. No one talked to me. And I didn't go looking for it. Carl, the janitor, I saw him wheeled into an ambulance. Unconscious, but breathing. The little girl's name was Mariah. She cried when they took her away. Tried to grab my sleeve, but the EMTs were in a rush. I stood there, watching her hand disappear through the doors. And then I sat back down. Back on the curb, next to my boots, my dust-covered jacket, and my silence. The assistant principal brought me coffee. Didn't say a word, just set it down and walked off. It was hot, too hot, scalded my lip when I drank. I welcomed the pain. It meant I was still here. Still human. Still not a ghost. Tyler showed up just before sunset. Red hoodie, torn at the sleeve, face pale, eyes wide. He didn't say anything, just sat next to me. I nodded, passed him the rest of the coffee. He drank it like it was medicine. They said you saved the whole school. He mumbled. I didn't answer, didn't want to. Because I hadn't saved everyone. I'd saved who I could. That's the job. You don't get medals for doing your job. You just live with the ones you couldn't reach. Later, someone from the local paper tried to take a picture. I waved him off. Didn't want my face in tomorrow's headline. Didn't need another false story. What happened wasn't about glory. It was about instinct. It was about the training you never unlearn. The fight or flight you bury under 10,000 quiet days. Until one day, it finds you again. And you run toward the chaos, while everyone else runs away. That night, the town lit candles. The church bell rang. Names were read. Hands were held. They offered me a front row seat. I stood in the back. Couldn't bear the spotlight. Didn't want it. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Because some of us aren't made to be seen. We're made to step forward when no one else will. Ellipsis. The paper ran the story Sunday morning. Front page, bold headline. Local man saves dozens in school tornado rescue. But it didn't say my name. Just, local man. Like I didn't have a past. Like I hadn't worn a name tag soaked in blood and sand for 3 decades. They posted a blurry photo. Me, carrying Carl and that little girl. My jacket half torn, face covered in ash. Someone snapped it in the moment. Didn't ask, didn't need to. The image did all the talking. By noon, the phones at town hall were ringing. News trucks rolled in, big city anchors with perfect hair and grave voices. Trying to find me, trying to tell my story. I wasn't home. I was in the woods. Chopping firewood, fixing the shed roof, feeding the cat. Anything to avoid the noise. Tyler found me first. Your name's everywhere, he said, breathless. I kept stacking logs. Didn't look at him. He held out his phone. Showed me a video. The clip had gone viral. The blurry photo, overlaid with some reporter's voice. Unnamed veteran rescues schoolchildren in Alabama tornado. Unnamed. That part stung more than I expected. By Monday, they knew who I was. Somebody did some digging, pulled my file, service records, commendations. 2 tours in Iraq, 1 in Afghanistan, Bronze Star, Purple Heart. It all came flooding back, not to me, but to them. Suddenly, I wasn't that old guy on the edge of town. I was Colonel Jack R. Matthews. The mayor showed up that afternoon. wearing a suit that didn't quite fit, sweat on his brow. He brought a film crew and a plaque. Said the town wanted to recognize my bravery. Said he deeply regretted the oversight. I didn't shake his hand, didn't take the plaque. I just looked at the camera and said 4 words. I did my job. That night, someone left flowers on my porch. Then another, then a card, then a dozen cards. Thank yous, apologies, long overdue respect. I didn't throw them out, didn't ignore them. But I didn't celebrate either. Because this wasn't about redemption. It was about remembrance. And finally, they remembered my name. Ellipsis. They asked me to give a speech. I said no. They asked again, said the whole town would be there. Veterans Day, Town Square, the rebuilt school behind us. The mayor even sent a printed program. Said I was the guest of honor. Guest of a town that once crossed the street to avoid me. Tyler came by the night before. Sat on the porch with me. As usual, no phone, no music, just the sound of crickets and his worn-out sneakers tapping against the steps. He handed me a folded piece of paper. You don't have to speak, he said, but if you did, maybe this would help. I opened it, his handwriting, big, careful letters, simple. It just said, "Thank you for showing me what strength really looks like." I didn't say much, just nodded. But I folded the paper and put it in my jacket pocket. Right over my heart. The square was full the next day. Flags everywhere, red, white, and blue draped over every post. Kids holding hand-drawn signs. I stood in the back, same spot I always did. Then someone tapped my shoulder. It was the school principal. She smiled, kind but nervous. "We saved you a seat," she said. I looked. Front row, right in the center, name card waiting on the chair. Call, Jack R. Matthews. I didn't sit at first, just stared at it. Then the music started. Someone sang the anthem, another read names of those we lost. Then silence. The mayor took the podium, spoke words about bravery, sacrifice, read from a script that someone else wrote. Then he called my name, asked me to come forward. I walked slow, didn't hurry, didn't smile. I looked out over the crowd, saw faces I recognized, the clerk from the gas station, my old neighbor who once called me nutjob, a dozen others who never saw me before this month. They were all staring now. I took the mic, held it steady, cleared my throat, and said, "For a long time, I was invisible to this town, and that was okay. I didn't need a parade, didn't need a plaque. I just needed to know that when it mattered, somebody still had the guts to run toward the danger. That's what soldiers do, and if you remember anything about me, let it be that. Not the medals, not the scars, not the headlines. Just that when the wind came, I didn't run. Thank you." I handed the mic back. Didn't wait for applause. But I heard it anyway. Low at first, then rising. And when I turned to sit down, someone else was in my seat. Tyler. He stood up, offered it to me, didn't say a word. Just looked me in the eye. So I nodded, and sat. Front row, at last. Ellipsis. The seasons turned. Pumpkins disappeared. Then came lights on porches. Then the sound of kids throwing snowballs down Main Street. Time moved again. And for the first time in a long while, I moved with it. They rebuilt the school faster than anyone thought they could. Donations poured in, people volunteered. And every time someone picked up a hammer or carried a beam, they did it under a banner that read, "We remember who ran toward the storm." I didn't help build it. My knees weren't what they used to be. But I brought coffee every morning. And every morning, someone handed me a chair and made room. Even that meant something. Tyler stopped by more often now. He still didn't talk much. Didn't need to. He brought books sometimes, on survival, on war, on what it meant to lead when you're tired and nobody follows. Once, He asked if I ever wanted to be remembered. I told him no. But I lied. One day, he brought a camera, said it was for a school project, asked to interview me. Not about the storm, he said, about everything before. I said I'd think about it. Still am. Some stories hurt when they leave your mouth. Some need to stay inside a while longer. He understood. On Veterans Day the following year, they rang the church bell again. Only once this time. No speeches, no fanfare, just silence. Then the kids placed flags along the fence of the new school. One for each life saved. And one extra. For the ghost that didn't stay a ghost. That night, I sat on the porch. Same chair, same cat, same radio, still tuned to static. But I wasn't listening for storms anymore. I was just listening. To life, to the wind, to the quiet that no longer hurt. And I knew. When my last watch comes. When the lights go out and the boots come off. I'll rest easy. Because I stood when it counted. And somebody finally saw me. Ellipsis 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 dot. So that's it. That's what happened. I didn't plan to be remembered, I just did what needed doing. Sometimes it takes a storm to reveal what a uniform never could. Not medals. Not rank. Just a man who stood when it mattered. And if this story made you think about someone you've overlooked, maybe it's time to knock on their porch. Say thank you. They might still be waiting. And what might they do, if the sirens ever sound?